From Ozarks First, you're watching KOLR 10 News at 10.
Well, Springfield officials are reporting a spike in overdoses over the past 24 hours. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Abreu. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. Our Beth Finello is here with more on what officials had to say today about those overdoses. Beth, what can you tell us?
Officials gathered for an emergency meeting this afternoon on the overdoses. They cannot give a precise number, but they believe the amount of overdoses is in the double digits. It is not clear if any of those were fatal. We spoke with Springfield Fire Chief David Pennington, who talked about what the city is doing to learn more about this issue.
Well, there's a lot of work that's going on. We're working on some surveillance to see what's going on in our community in terms of what's coming in and going out, what would be the impact to our patients, how are we structured to respond should we have another influx like this, are we prepared is simply the question we're asking, and then how are we going to continue to communicate with one another and communicate with the community to let them know what is occurring.
There is also a group that was formed among city officials to get more information. So far this year, the city has recorded 42 overdoses.
All right, Beth, thanks. Well, new at 10 tonight, the City of Republic is asking its citizens for input on the possibility of putting railroad quiet zones at certain crossings through town, meaning an approaching train would not be required to sound its horn near a crossing. KOLR 10's Madison Heaver was in Republic today at the city's Q&A about quiet zones. Madison, what are residents saying about this?
Jen, Republic is now the largest community in our area along a main line that does not have any quiet zones in place. The people I talked to were mostly supportive of the quiet zones, but there are some people who are still skeptical. There are about 40 to 60 trains that roll through Republic in just a 24-hour period.
It's become more of an issue in recent years. Republic is on a railroad line, and so with a railroad line comes a lot of trains and a lot of train horn noise. And that's gotten to be a bigger issue in recent years as train traffic has increased.
And with that come a lot of train horn sounds. Republic is looking for residents' opinions on putting in what are called quiet zones. They're areas at railroad crossings where conductors do not have to honk the approaching train's horn for a crossing, which is a safety requirement.
Trains have to blow their horns by law for road crossings, but the government will exempt those communities that make those safety upgrades to the point where the horns are not needed, or at least the need is reduced.
Those safety upgrades include putting in concrete lane barriers or crossing signal upgrades. This is Bill. He moved to Republic about 2 years ago.
My family and I live about a block, maybe 50 yards. Yeah, and the thing we learned that we didn't necessarily know when we moved here is just how active this particular train line is. Over the 2 years, you sort of learn both, kind of the troubles that come with it.
Even though he's supportive of the quiet zones, some people aren't.
There's a lot of people that like the sound of train horns. I mean, Republic was built around the railroad, so the railroad and the trains have been here for almost 150 years. Some people, grew up hearing the trains. Some people just like the sound of them.
The city says they aren't sure how much the project could cost because they've already updated some railroad crossings, and that would lessen the burden.
All right, Madison, thanks. And making news now. Over the past few years, a lot of the regular 9-to-5 workday jobs are being replaced with gig economy jobs. That means short-term or freelance jobs like driving Uber, cargo, or grocery delivery. Frances Lynn is here to tell us about a major local employer that just got on board with this idea. Frances.
Well, it's Cox Health that's launching a flex scheduling program for its environmental service and food service positions. I also talked to a business professor at OTC who says gig economy jobs are increasing fast.
About 35% of our current workforce is a gig workforce, and that's going to grow to about 43 to 45% by the end of 2020. People have changed the way that they work and kind of put employment on their terms. So it's become a different world. We started to have a lot more businesses that you can clock in and clock out kind of on your own terms. Uber, Uber Eats, Lyft, Airbnb.
OTC's Lance Renner says there are a couple of generations that are driving the gig economy.
The millennial generation is driving it, but I also think the flip side, which is kind of interesting, is I think the baby boomers are also driving it. As they're retiring, they want to still have a job or two. They want to work 10 hours a week, but they want to work when they want to work.
We have a software where we can put out some blast through text messaging to large groups.
Ronnie Lightfoot with Cox Health talks about why more and more people are wanting a gig economy job.
Having the opportunity to work with a very flexible schedule, and then certainly if you can get paid almost on demand.
You can make your own schedule. You can decide, when do I want to work, when do I don't want to work.
But there are some downsides, both to the company.
You have to constantly be looking for employees. You don't necessarily have that base of employee that is constantly there for you to draw from. And so you have to put a little bit more resources in looking for employees all the time.
And the employee.
I got used to having benefits, vacation, sick leave, 401k. That you've got to really watch as the employee, because that's not going to be part of your work life now.
If you're interested in applying for the new Flex PRN position with Cox Health, you can talk with representatives at a job fair next Tuesday. That takes place from 4 to 6 in the lobby of the West Tower. You can also apply online.
All right, thanks, Francis. All around the Ozarks tonight, for those living in rural areas, finding good health care and dental care is something that often requires some traveling. Well, citizens in Dade County needing dental care got some great news this week as the Dade County Health Department unveiled its new dental office in downtown Greenfield. Our Jesse Inman made the trip there this week to talk to those who made it possible. Jesse.
Well, I heard actually this week that dental care has been a need in Dade County for quite a few years, but I found out on this trip that I made out there this week that accessibility actually came second to affordability. You've been thinking, are you from here?
I am from here. I'm from Lockwood.
Sometimes it's those that have been ingrained in a community the longest that know what's best for it.
I started here 15 years ago, and I saw this need a long time ago, but I knew that it would take a lot to get that in place.
Director Pam Allen of the Dade County Health Department knows that with the opening of their new dental clinic, they will be a hub for people seeking that service.
It's for Dade and the surrounding area. There's not a lot of dentists even in the surrounding area around us.
The Ozarks Community Health Center was a big help in getting the 14-member staff and all the equipment prepared, but CEO Scott Crouch says that there's something else that will set this clinic apart from the only other option in the area.
In the Greenfield area, there's primarily one provider who's part-time and doesn't accept Medicaid, and so we are able to come in and see Medicaid folks as well as any insurances.
My kids went to Ash Grove for the longest time, and that's a 30-minute drive.
Greenfield resident Tanya Greider won't be making that half-hour drive now, and she says the only thing better than the convenience is the coverage.
There's some places that, there's all different kinds of the Medicaid, and there's some places that don't accept that Medicaid. So here it really helps with them accepting the one that my children have.
The clinic is open 3 days a week for now, and they'll even work with those who aren't insured for payment on a sliding scale. The hope is to eliminate the factors that would keep someone from getting the care they need.
Dental care is expensive, and if you have something affordable for them, then they're going to try and come.
So in addition to the sliding scale payment options that they offer, they also accept Medicaid, as you heard, and the clinic also got a grant of $10,000 from the Dayco Community Foundation, meaning that they can help cover dental costs for uninsured low-income patients.
All right, great news. Thanks, Jesse. Moving on to weather now, let's check in with Jamie. We've got a beautiful day ahead of us, but some storms possible for the weekend, Jamie?
Smooth sailing through Friday. Beautiful finish to our work week. We've got a couple of different storms that are going to impact the area over the weekend. The first one, a rainmaker for part of the day on Saturday. The second one could produce some severe weather, at least in the region. I'll have more on that after the break.